Cryptids, monsters, mythological beasts, ghouls, ghast, and flying green men are naturally fun to talk about, whether you believe them or not. Part of that genre of weird creature in the woods are fearsome critters. While fearsome critters aren't as well known as cryptids, such as Bigfoot or Nessie, they're just as, and sometimes more exciting to talk about. Probably the coolest thing I find about fearsome critters are they are so localized in the United States that many people in certain areas know about one or two critters but don't even realize it. This is because it was just a tale their grandmother or grandfather would tell them about. Critters were mostly told as a fun little joke around a campfire, to freak out somebody who isn't familiar with the area, or a small bedtime story to tell a child to make them scared of going too far into the woods. However, originally fearsome critters came from lumberjacks who would pass stories along while traveling between campsites. Many times, lumberers would also use stories as a way to mess with newcomers. To break it down real quick, one person would go on a drawn-out explanation of a type of creature they saw or heard about, and someone else familiar with what he is doing would jump in and add on top of the description to make it sound more believable. Because we all know if one person says they saw it, he could be bluffing. However, two people, still probably bluffing, but now it has you peeking over your shoulder a few times. To add on top of the allure of it, it would also explain away some things that would mostly be mysterious in the woods. For example, a creature like the Hidebehind, which we will talk about later, is used to explain missing lumberers. And a creature like the Agropelter is used to explain branches and such falling off of trees without anyone physically seeing anything around them. And with this fun word-of-mouth tradition, there are also a massive amount of unknown folklore simply because it was lost to time, but thankfully, there were authors and illustrators who took it upon themselves to write and draw what they have heard. The book, Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods with a Few Desert and Mountain Beasts, it's a mouthful, written by William T. Cox, that is also a mouthful, with illustrator Coert Du Bois in 1910, is considered the oldest book in the genre that could only be described as lumberjack tales. Another important book is Fearsome Critters by Henry H. Tryon in 1939, with the help of his wife Margaret Ramsay Tryon, with illustrations. Henry Tryon wrote in his book, "Much true folklore was born, lived, and died with no chance of ever becoming a part of our permanent records. Without doubt, this has happened to a good bit of woods lore." Which couldn't be more true, and we have these authors and illustrators to thank for writing them down, drawing them, and just collecting stories. You don't have to remember those names, but I want to name them at least. They're influential figures in this, but with each entry, I'll of course name several people of the people that I just talked about for the most part. And enough with book club, that's some nerd shit. We have a long list of interesting guys to talk about, so we're going to go over 4 hand-picked fearsome critters that I picked. One of them sucks, I'll say it now. I didn't know until I researched it, and this is going to be a series until I hopefully get through a lot of them. I can't say all of them because the Cryptid Wiki, which I think sucks, is telling me there are 69 of them, so we'll just see what happens. Oh, and by the end of it, I'm also going to make a tier list to rank them based on if I find them cool and which one I think stink, or I'll rank them by which ones I could kill with my bare hands. We'll see when we get there. I also wanted to say this is going to be a longer video, I believe. This is also the second time I'm recording it because I screwed up the audio last time. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but if the audio is screwed up, I got annoyed and I just stuck it out. So yeah, strap in. This is a longer video. And subscribe if you haven't. Like the video too. Like it right now, okay? Don't even listen to the rest of the video. Like it right now. Subscribe. You waited long enough. These are 4 fearsome critters of the Lumberwoods and a few desert beasts with a few mountain ones too. I think it's safe to start with one of the lesser known critters when compared to a few of the most well-known ones, but by no means is this a unpopular one. I figured the Hugag is a good start because it is a great example as to what to expect with the later fearsome critters, with how fun it is, how weird it is, how wacky it is, and why it even exists, as in the reason that he was made. However, don't be fooled because not every critter is friendly, but more on that later. The first mention of any creature by the name of Hugag was in 1900. However, it was Hugag, spelled Hew-Gag, rather than Hugag. However, it was lacking almost every detail other than it having some gigantic feet that had claws surrounding its feet, which made it impossible to tell which direction the creature came from or where he went. Basically a hunter's true nightmare. 10 years later, in 1910, the Hugag, Hugag, was born in the book Fearsome Critters of the Lumberwoods by William T. Cox. It was described to not only be the size of a moose, but it resembled it enough to possibly mistake it for one at first glance. Very noticeable, however, are its jointless legs, which compel the animal to remain on its feet, and its long upper lip, which prevents it from grazing. If it tried that method of feeding, it would simply tramp its upper lip into the dirt. Its head and neck are leathery and hairless. Its strangely corrugated ears flop downward. Its four-toed feet, long bushy tail, shaggy coat, and general makeup give the beast an unmistakably prehistoric appearance. To recap a tiny bit, it has jointless legs, so it can't lay down, which sounds miserable, a long upper lip, so it has to adopt an unconventional way of eating, also miserable, big sad floppy ears, which you can't really blame the guy, his life sucks, and worst of all, get this, he is fucking bald down to his neck. An easy question to ask is, how does this thing sleep if it can't move its legs properly? Big fat baldy. Which gets us into why this creature was even conjured up in the first place. Have you ever seen, in the woods, a tree uprooted from the ground pointing diagonally? Well, the loggers would say that the reason that happens is because a hugag was sleeping against the tree to keep itself upright. To me, what makes these tales so fun is that because these stories get passed around, sometimes details would get added on. In 1939, Henry Tryon, in Fearsome Critters, would add warts on its face, making it uglier, bumps on its head, making it uglier again, and replace his hair with pine needles, which I think that was a little unnecessary and you just ruined the whole thing. And for whatever reason, there was a debate on this fictional creature's diet, the creature that doesn't exist. Yeah, there was an argument. Cox would hammer home and said that he ate twigs and bark. Tryon insisted that they ate pine knots. But what is wood? I can't tell the difference. I'm not a logger, lumberer, or lumberjack. Overall, I think this jointless, wood-eating, pizza-faced baldy is a really fun creature. I like him, I love him, and I'm glad I started with him. It really made me think everything would have been cool, but yeah, you'll see. I enjoy how dumb and silly he looks, and he is a great start to this journey into exploring these tales. However, he's bald, so he gets knocked down a few points. The Hidebehind is by far the most popular fearsome creature, and for very good reason. His popularity comes from how mysterious this creature is, and also how terrifying it seems to be. Believe it or not, it is a creature, I'm saying that word a lot, who stalks its prey and hides behind trees and other objects as it watches from a distance. The Hidebehind is described as a dark, slim figure that watches humans in the forest from afar, making sure he does not get spotted as he moves closer and closer, making sure he hides behind trees to not get spotted. So, hide behind. You get it. As the creature gets closer, he quickly strikes without the victim knowing he was ever there in the first place and drags him away to have his intestines eaten. This tale was used on other loggers to explain away the disappearances that may occur to other lumberjacks in the woods, and it was also told to children, even to this day, to scare them into going home before it got too dark, or so they would not get lost deep in the dark woods. I think another reason why this one is so popular, I didn't write it in the script, but I just thought about it right now. Liminal horror is so popular right now. Still is. I know it's 2025, but I don't think that's going away for a while. Liminal horror is popular, and so is analog horror. Pop up a few pictures if you don't know what I'm talking about in that sense. Yeah, it adds to it. It's like things hiding around corners and shit, like a place you're not familiar with. Yeah, I just wanted to add that in. A funny thing I find about this creature is that he is disgusted and sometimes repelled by the scent of alcohol, which was probably just the result of some lumberjack throwing into the story, like, oh yeah, he hates alcohol, he hates liquor, that's why I'm getting drunk, that's why I'm getting boozed up. He's just making an excuse why he was getting wasted in the woods. The earliest published story I could find is from Lakeshore Kearney's The Hodag and Other Tales of the Logging Camps. In the book, a man by the name of William Allen tells a story of the nondescript monstrosity. I have learned of the prehistoric animals that inhabited this world back at the beginning, but the monstrosity I am about to mention must be the missing nondescript. I will call it the Hidebehind, because of its habit of hiding behind trees. This animal stands 5 feet and 10 inches high and walks on its hind feet. It is of slender build and could easily hide behind a tree of medium size. Its body is completely covered with long hair so thick it is impossible to tell where the face is, if it even has one. It has a short forearm of great strength with sharp, pointed talons able to pierce through heavy garments. It disembowels its victim, bringing out the entrails, raising them to its head for the purpose of smelling them before eating. Should there be any scent of liquor in the entrails, the animal will throw them back into the face of the victim and with a horrible laugh, vanish into the forest. That quote pretty much gave us all of the descriptions of the Hidebehind. That right there shows why it's so popular. It reminds me of a lot of current horror right now. Now you got like tall figures, big fingers, smile on its face, or no face at all. It truly sounds like something somebody could just come up with today. It's fascinating to even read about that this was made back then, like early 1900s. Crazy. On to the next one. I'm done rambling. On to the most exciting one on this list. The gilligaloo bird is a bird, shocking, I know, that lays square eggs. And that's it. That's it. It lays square eggs, so the eggs can't roll. The eggs are described as spotted, so lumberers would find these eggs and hard-boil them to create dice out of them, so they can gamble. If you mix the tail of the gilligaloo and the Hidebehind, it paints a very funny picture of a bunch of drunk lumberjacks in the forest gambling while telling stories of creatures they either made up or actually believe in. This lame-ass bird was written in the pamphlet Paul Bunyan Natural History, written in 1935 by Charles Edward Brown. This hillside plover nested on the slopes of Bunyan's famous Pyramid 40. Living in such a locality, it laid square eggs so that they could not roll down the steep incline. The lumberjacks hard-boiled these eggs and used them as dice. In 1910, J.E. Rockwell, who was an early contributor to the myth of Paul Bunyan, wrote a book titled Some Lumberjack Myths, where he described a bird which he called, forgive me for even putting this in your head, deep winter flying midget that laid eggs in the snow that keep the eggs cold instead of warm to hatch them. Then he later added the details that the eggs were square for some reason. You could have just had it at just a boring bird who keeps his eggs cold. But no, he had to have square eggs. Had to make it even stupider. The gilligaloo doesn't have much going for it. It's lame, boring, and I'm falling asleep talking about it. I guess we're gonna run into a few of those, and I'm sorry if I am very angry about this thing. You gotta understand, I researched this, I'm talking about it. This is the third time now. This is the third time I'm recording this part. I hate this thing. I want it dead. I want to grab it and just crush it into a square. Okay, I want to turn this thing into a square. I want to kill it. I wish this thing was real so I could kill it. Okay?
That fucking bird that I hate.
Next one. We're moving on. After that stinker, I picked this one because I know how cool it is, I know I love it, and I hope you love it too. In the northern Pennsylvania hemlock forests, there lives one of the most popular fearsome critters, but its existence is nothing short of pathetic. Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods described a creature by the name of the Squonk. Impressively, the Squonk hasn't had an appearance change through the years, unlike many of the other fearsome critters, cryptids, urban legends, and whatever, aliens, I guess. However, it makes sense because of how important the Squonk's appearance is, along with how it plays into the comedic nature of it. But I like to pretend it hasn't changed because of how perfect this guy is. Kind of like the horseshoe crab or coelacanth. Put it simply, I'll just read William T. Cox's description. The squonk is of a very retiring disposition, generally traveling about at twilight and dusk. Because of its misfitting skin, which is covered with warts and moles, it is always unhappy. Hunters who are good at tracking are able to follow a squonk by its tear-stained trail. The animal weeps constantly. When cornered and escape seems impossible, or when surprised and frightened, it may even dissolve itself in tears. For a second, I thought I was describing myself. Thank you, William T. Cox, for belittling this helpless creature, you monster. Later on, in Fearsome Critters, Henry Tryon had written that the squonk must have migrated from the deserts to the swamps and finally settled down in the Pennsylvanian hemlocks. Most likely did this because so many people were saying they saw them in the desert, the swamp, and then later the hemlocks. This does sound like something you would see in a swamp. Ugly, ugly bastard. In some stories, the squonk avoids the night when the sky is illuminated by the bright moon because they are afraid of seeing their own reflection in the water because they are so hideous. One of my favorite details is that it has webbed toes, however, only on their left feet. This detail is extremely disrespectful to this thing. That is so mean to this guy. I just gotta wonder what was going through the head of the guy that came up with that one. A majority of the popularity for the squonk is simply because this thing is so pathetic and you can't help but feel pity for the guy. I mean, look at this thing. So ugly and gross. He probably smells too. Ugh. Oh, God. The idea of a creature being so disgustingly ugly that it knows that it's ugly, that it refuses to look at itself. It forever cries to itself. It's so depressing. It's so ugly, it cries. It's no wonder it's one of the more popular ones, especially now that liking ugly things is quirky and cool. I'm not shitting on people who think ugly things are cute, because I'm guilty of it too. I love this thing. I love it dearly. I'd probably keep it away from me because it's so ugly, but I would look at it and say, yeah, I like that thing. There's only so many ways I could call this thing grotesque. I've really been shitting on it, and if you really do love squonks, don't attack me. You know this thing is ugly. Don't lie to yourself. So let's just talk about the Squonkapalooza. That's right, there's a whole celebration every year for the squonk. Well, kind of. Every August, it takes place in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. People gather to celebrate American folklore, such as the squonk, with live entertainment, public speakers, live podcasts, crafting booths, vendors, games, and other stuff that the whole family could enjoy, even if you aren't familiar with these things, with folklore. Sounds very cool and interesting. Yeah, that's it for the squonk. Ugly, disgusting, love it. I could kill it. I could do it. Cool, cute, cries itself to death. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that little thumbs up icon. If I missed anything, or you have something to add, comment below. Throw whatever you got at me. I could take it. Thank you for watching. Drive safe, sleep good, enjoy your day at work, or whatever else you are doing. And I hope to see you in the next one.